We're back for more Duo Standard here on Versus Live as we are kind of giving you a preview of some of the decks we think are going to show up this weekend at the Mythic Invitational at PAX East. The first match, we had a pairing of Mono White Aggro with Golgari Midrange. We had basically on the aggro side, we wanted our deck to be straightforward. The removal is versatile with Conclave Tribunal. The starts are explosive and occasionally hard for other decks to really cope with. A cheap sweeper is not always good enough because of things like Dauntless Bodyguard, as well as a Venerated Luxon occasionally pushing those creatures above that 3 toughness against things like Deafening Clarion, but also just able to apply a ton of pressure in a format where you're not really sure what your opponent is going to be bringing to the table.
Yeah, so the aggressive decks perform pretty well there. We're trying to, tailor our non-aggressive decks to be good against small creatures. Mm-hmm. It didn't go so well for the Jeskai side in that first match, but we've got Esper control in this one. And your aggro deck is now going to be a little bit bigger, so it's more robust. It can play a defensive role against other aggressive decks, and it can still apply the beatdowns to bigger decks. This is a Gruul Aggro, a deck that has been doing well in regular best of 3 standard for a couple weeks now, and we're going to see how it does against the pairing of White Weenie and Golgari that won the first match. Yeah, so the Gruul Aggro deck, you made a good point. This is an aggro deck that can certainly attack your opponent and deal a lot of damage in the short term, but it has the riot mechanic in pretty heavy amounts so that you can actually choose to play more aggressive with haste, or you can choose to play a little more defensive by just playing slightly larger creatures. And I think that type of an ability plays very well in a best of 1 setting. Yeah, any sort of modality that you add to your cards, any of that sort of versatility is going to be really important here. Unless you're just playing the most powerful linear deck, you're going to have to change roles every now and again, and having the ability to do so when you don't have a sideboard to really help out in that regard is going to be very helpful. So this is definitely a deck I can see showing up this weekend, and one that, might not be as much on the radar for most people because it didn't get a lot of press when Standard was the heavy focus on everyone's mind. Didn't do that well at the Mythic Championship in Cleveland. It did pretty well at the Grand Prix in Memphis the weekend before. And then in the intervening time when it has been doing well online, Standard just hasn't had a lot of eyes on it. So yeah, not only has it not had a lot of eyes on it, but the times it's doing well is kind of in secret, like on the ladder on Arena. We see the Twitter account Arena Decklist, run by, of course, the Game Podcast, Brian Gottlieb and Jerry Thompson. They, people tweet at them, or they see a decklist posted from Arena from someone who hit Mythic or just having a good run through Platinum and ranks up to Mythic, and they just retweet these decklists, and we've seen a lot of Golgari being tweeted out. And but aside from that, there hasn't been a Grand Prix top 8 with it in it until this past weekend in Japan. Yes, where I believe there were 2 Gruul decks in the top 8, including the eventual winner. So a very good performance for it there. But again, not a tournament that's getting a lot of press because Standard just is entering this sort of lame duck time period. We're getting War of the Spark previews coming soon, so people are kind of over it. And so it's definitely a deck that, even though it's been doing well for a while now, could fly under the radar. Yeah. All right. Well, if do we have any questions, comments, or burns?
There was a comment before while we were on break.
All right. Ship it.
They wanted to know, what are your thoughts on Cindervines as a main deck option?
I don't think it's that bad. I think the problem comes from a card like that when you're on the draw against a deck that it's not very effective against. It's effectively a dead card. I do think that it is one of the most powerful sideboard cards you can possibly play in a deck like a Gruul Aggro, just acting as a disenchant effect when you need it to be, but also just dealing a bunch of chip damage to the control decks. But with that said, if you play against a mono red deck and you're on the draw, you just can't cast Cindervines on turn 2. You have to be playing a creature potentially to attack or block, depending on whether or not they stumbled, or you need to be playing a removal spell that actually kills their creature so you can protect your life total. Yeah, I'm not sold on that in this format. There are too many decks that are popular that it's going to be quite bad against, and its upside, even against the decks where it's pretty good, is not that high. Against an Esper control deck or a Jeskai deck, they can
probably avoid that. They almost all are going to be incorporating main deck life gain in some respects.
That's true, and they do have access to Mortify, so even though it's going to maybe deal them a couple points, they can always choose to take the time off to pop it. So
yeah, I don't think the upside there in best of one is going to be high enough to justify how low the downside is.
All right. Well, we have determined our decks already at random. We don't know what they are. We have shown them to Director Kyle West. Let's go ahead and roll some dice and see who goes first. I'll take even. All right, it's even. I'll be on the play. Let's take a gander. Okay. We definitely need to draw some lands, but we're on the play with a hand that if we draw 1 or 2 lands in a row, we're going to be in great shape. And I think that you just kind of have to keep hands like this and hope that they work out.
I also need to draw some lands, but I have some stuff to do in the meantime, so I'll keep...
It's one of the benefits of playing an aggressive deck with a low land count is you can function on a flood or screw. Here, we might not be able to, but looks like we're okay now.
Wild Growth Walker.
Okay.
You can go.
I will say go.
Attack for 1.
So that means he's not going to play a creature here unless it's a Llanowar Elves. So I'm just going to go ahead and mortify this. Because the only creatures in the deck that he can play there that really matter are... Well, I guess another one of those is
You
fine.
can go.
All right. Your turn.
Attack for 1.
19.
You can go.
I'll cast Chemisters. Untap, draw.
Shock him there?
Yeah.
17.
Fairy, draw a card, tick up, leave up in these 2. Your turn. And now the game's over.
Attack to Fairy for 1.
Yeah.
Shock, play Brontodon.
Sure.
I am at 18, and you can go.
All right, draw a card. Let's... We have 5 cards. Vraska's Contempt this. Go to 19.
No target for me to be able to dodge the exile there.
Then I'll untap 2 lands and say go. This is going to let me Chemisters if I need, or... yeah, sure.
Wild Growth Walker.
Yep.
You can go.
Play another Chemister. Untap. Draw. Plus with the Fairy. Kind of want a Kaiser Ass just to clean these up without having to use spot removal, because we're kind of bottlenecked into countering something like a Jade Light Ranger. If we... I mean, like 100%, but... Thought Erasure you. I guess we'll take Find Finality.
Okay. I heard Cast Down, so I'm going to get rid of that one.
All right, we'll keep this on top. And play a land, untap these 2 and say go. Are you serious? No, come on. What are you doing?
You took Cast Down.
Pretty sure I said Find Finality, but you know.
That's not what I heard. Attack your Fairy for 2.
Okay. You know what? Fine. I'm just going to beat you anyway.
Play a Ravenous Chupacabra.
Sure.
You can go.
All right, we'll discard a Hallowed Fountain to play Chemister. Draw for turn. Plus Fairy. I'm just going to kill all 3 of your creatures. Here we go.
I will find back 2 of the walkers. Got him. You can go.
Yeah, you're not. I'm still gonna get you. All right, minus.
Oh no.
All right, hold on. Land, go.
Find back 2 wild growth walkers.
Absorb it.
You go to 22.
Yeah.
You can go.
All right, untap. Draw for turn. Exile 2 wild growth walkers.
You're 24.
Draw a card with Teferi. Thought Erasure your big Dum Dum. No, I'll Thought Erasure the Vivian, I guess. Surveil. Graveyard this. Play Watery Grave. Untap these 2. Your turn.
Go.
Alright, Chemisters. Discarding the land. Draw 2. Draw for turn. Fairy plus. Wild Growth and I don't know, Vivian. I don't care.
26.
Land untaps, go.
Llanowar Elves.
Yep.
You can go.
Minus the elf. Draw with fairy. Land tapped. Untap it, go.
Merfolk Branchwalker.
Yeah, that's fine.
Graveyard this Vraska.
Okay.
You can go.
I will. Yes, mortify the creature. Draw for turn. Eat the creature and a finality. Gain 2.
28.
Plus with the fairy. Thought Erasure your thing. Graveyard. Play Searcher Skanta. Untap 2 lands.
Is everyone okay with me conceding here?
Yeah, we were fine with it like 20 turns ago.
We're done.
Okay, all right.
Finny.
Fini Armadici.
That's...
I know. Look, I just want to say things that make Ross's brain pop. All right. So now we manually switch to the other deck, no matter who won or lost this game. So my Esper control will now be Gruul. And what's your deck? The White Weenie deck?
White Weenie.
I'm saying it for the people at home, okay? Maybe they're just tuning in. They want to know what deck you're playing.
It's White Weenie.
All right. Cool. So why aren't you splashing blue?
Because that was for sideboard cards, and we're not playing with a sideboard.
What about the main deck Deputy of Detention?
Nobody main decks that card.
Not anymore, but they did at the beginning.
Yeah, then they realized they shouldn't, because it costs so much mana. It costs 3.
Does cost 3.
You already have 2 great 3-drops. You don't need a mediocre one.
It's true. It's true. All right, questions, comments, burns.
Well, that wants to know why Golgari over Sultai.
So we want to be a little more slanted towards beating the aggro decks. And I don't think Krasis actually helps you do that. Krasis is this weird card that forces you to play a bunch of dual lands in your deck that ultimately make some of your draws a lot slower because your lands enter the battlefield tapped, or potentially just deal yourself too much damage because you have to play like 10, 11, 12 shock lands. Obviously, it can recoup some of that life lost, but I think in the early turns, you just need more stabilization. And playing Carnage Tyrant instead, I think, gives you a better chance of beating other mid-range decks, as well as giving you a better shot against control. Because, I mean, you're not going to win the super long games against the control decks because it's best of one. Like, you don't have the tools necessary to really translate those extra cards that you draw off of Krasis into something valuable. But if you just... Sometimes you can just ram into a turn 4 Carnage Tyrant, and then they're just dead if they don't have Kai's Wrath. Like, if Ross had that game had literally just, like, drawn Elves instead of Wild Growths and cast a turn 4 Carnage Tyrant, I might have just died. That's why we chose it instead of Sultai. But, all right, one more question?
What would you play in a standard tournament if you had to register a deck today?
In best of one, or...
Pretty sure they just want a best 3.
I mean,
but You just played Standard and Tournament. What did you pick? Why?
I enjoyed playing Temur Reclamation.
Oh.
I ran into a lot of aggressive decks, though.
Oh.
So maybe I would be playing something more slanted towards beating the aggressive decks, but I think if I just played better, my record could have been also better with the Reclamation deck. So I'd probably start there.
Okay.
Deck is super fun.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and get to the games. We do roll again?
No.
We don't roll in the
You went first in game one, so I go first in game
two. You go
two.
first here. Okay. How was your opener?
Not great.
Feel free to Morgan, and then we can take more questions.
Yeah, I think this hand's just too slow. Like I only have one thing to do in the first 2 turns, and it's a Snubhorn Sentry. So
yikes for me, dog.
Yeah.
All right. Questions, comments, Burns? QCB, if you will.
I think we had a couple just now come in, but they look pretty long. So I'm kind of scanning on this for a second.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
We have a new player in here. Halo is solid.
All right.
All right. They say, at the moment, there are 3 viable aggro decks that are monocolored. Also heard that this format is particularly fast mixed color land base. So the question is, if in future formats, the good mixed lands go, what will stop monocolor aggro decks from taking over too much?
I mean, that's kind of just the tension of every dynamic standard format. How good is the mana base, and what are the incentives to splashing or playing 2 colors versus 3 colors? Even as early as the last Ravnica set that was released, I guess it was like 6-7 years ago now. I don't know. It's insane. We had a 3-color aggro deck, which was one of the dominant aggro decks in the format. So if the incentives are there to build your aggressive deck, like really heavily slanted towards 3 colors, you're going to do it. But right now we have the 3 drops that are just really good in all 3 decks. We have Goblin Chainwhirler, Benalish Marshal, and Tempest Chin, and all 3 of those cards want you to play 1 color. And it actually creates this really interesting tension between playing a monocolor deck and then splashing a secondary color, because you can't really afford to play islands in your White Winnie deck. You can just go to 6 again, because we'll just say the algorithm lets you stay at 6 every time. But yeah, there's this tension between monocolor 3 drops and just splashing another color. And I think that you're just going to see over time as a newer player, this is one of the more interesting mana-based scenarios that we've had in Standard in a while, where players are incentivized to play monocolor decks. We don't get that often, because there's such a huge emphasis on 2-color pairings based on the lands we have access to. It's just interesting to see, because there's a chance that I'll say this: there was a good chance that Tempest Gen was just not going to be playable, because it made you play only islands, and it took a lot of cards to come out for the deck to really get great, and people to figure out Curious Obsession. Of course, that card was messed up, but I don't know. All right, how's your new 6?
This hand is playable.
Hey.
And I think we want to guarantee our 3rd land drop, so I will keep that.
All right.
And we'll start on Allegiance Landing.
Gruul Guildgate, your turn. I think this
Powerful.
matchup might be tough.
Adonta Vanguard, mush for 1.
Yep.
1921. You're up.
Okay. I'm going to name Goblin. I'm going to make a 3/3. Your turn.
Benalish Marshal.
Yeah.
Attack for 4.
Yeah. 16.
15.
15. Why?
I got in for 1 last turn.
Oh, yeah, duh. And you're at 21?
Yep.
Okay.
You can go.
Let's go Lightning Strike on this. Stomping Ground, attack for 3. 18, 15.
Yep.
I can't really hold back the Goblin to block because Vanguard is a little too big, but we might be able to block next turn.
Attack for 4.
I'm at 11.
And I'm at 19.
Yep.
You can go.
Again, I don't really want to deal myself damage. I'm going to play the slightly weaker card here. Spellbreaker.
Not a chain roller.
And I think I'm going to attack. If he has an answer for this, that's fine.
16.
I wouldn't block this on this anyway, so. His answer for it would just be Conclave Tribunal, which is quite good against the other cards in my hand anyway. So
Yeah, we have the Tribunal. Mush for 4.
yeah, I'm at 7. You're at 17?
Yep, you can go.
We'll play a Phoenix now. And at me at 7, I think here I hold this back. And if he does have another answer for this, then I trade 4 life for the Goblin. I think that is what I want to do.
Protect the Vampire.
Yep.
You can go.
And now here I think I just don't want him to transform Legion's Landing, so coil target the bodyguard. Ah, he has Unbreakable Formation. Okay, nice. Sure.
I do want to transform Legion's Landing.
Yep. And then play Pelt Collector. And here I think I just say go. And if he has attack with all 3, and I get to go block here, and then maybe here, or vice versa. And then he loses a bunch of creatures to transform the Legion's Landing.
Sky Marcher Aspirant.
Sure.
I have the City's Blessing.
Sure. I think you have the Starseed's Blessing, actually, but all right.
Mush, transform.
Okay. So I think do this. Maybe we just do this. Yeah, I think having the Pelt Collector around is just better, so.
Okay, so I'll pay 4 life, go to 13.
Yeah. So
Then
13.
I'm
at
you will go to 6, and then I'll go to 14. Yep.
All right, and
this
the
will
Phoenix
die.
dies, that dies. I get an egg. This gets a counter.
And then I'll pass the turn.
All right, upkeep. Egg goes away. Pelt Collector gets bigger. Draw for turn.
That's pretty neat.
Dun dun dun. Dun 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 dun. You gonna pay 4 life?
Yep.
So you go
10.
10. All right, I'm gonna attack for what's that? Exactly 10. Dun 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 dun.
Make a token.
Yeah, you go 2 3.
And gain 1, I go to 4.
Okay. Here we go. If it makes you feel any better, I top decked it.
I just made I've made one mistake in basically every game today that's cost me the game every time. If I just I drew Unbreakable Formation the turn I Tribunal. If I just cast that and attack for 4, then you're like probably forced to play the Phoenix the following turn, and I just get the Phoenix down. And then get you into chump block mode with the Adanto Vanguard, and I probably win.
All right. Do we want to just go and play a third game?
Sure.
All right. Let's see. So let's pick however. So let's see. You have White Winnie and Golgari. So I think I'm just gonna do this one. Okay. All right. I'm gonna get Director Kyle to put those up.
While you guys shuffle up, I have a quick question.
Yes, please.
Can you give some information, maybe some keys to not get burnt out competing in 2-day opens?
Over the course of a weekend?
Yeah, let's say
in a
day
week.
2.
Oh, you mean in one weekend?
We can start with 1 weekend.
I thought that they meant over the course of like a season.
I didn't think they meant.
To which I would
grinding
respond,
necessarily.
No, I do not have an answer for that.
I mean, over the course of the weekend, it's the same advice that everybody tells you. Like, drink water. Like, keep yourself fed, but don't eat something ridiculously heavy. Try to keep yourself on the sleep schedule that you're going to be on for the week, for the tournament during the week leading up to it.
Yep. Although I will say this, I have won quite a few tournaments in my day on less than 4 hours sleep. So
same. It's a lot harder to do now than when we were 21.
That's true. It's true. Same with just being hungover.
Family show, Todd. Odd or even?
Even. Steven. It is odd. All right. So we're going to draw our opening hands, and we don't want to reveal to each other what we're playing at because it could affect mulligans. But Indeed.
I think if Todd chose the deck that I would choose if I were in Todd's spot, this hand is not going to be good enough.
What deck do you think I'm playing?
So I'm going to mulligan it. I think that you should choose the Gruul deck from your seat.
All right. Questions, comments, burns.
Keeping your 7?
Oh, yeah.
He who is in the water wants to know. It's a little bit off topic from what we're doing here today.
Oh, it's fine.
But,
anything's good.
How
Any
would you guys
concept.
feel about Gorilla Shaman in Modern Horizons?
Come on, buddy.
Would it be good?
I don't know. It's like red to kill a Mox Opal, 5 mana to kill a Ravager. Probably not good, actually. I don't know. It's probably safe, but it's one of those cards that just, why? Why? You know?
I like me a Mox Monkey.
Then get you an Octavia Orangutan.
No, Gorilla Shaman is Mox Monkey.
I know what it is. I'm just saying, if you really want a monkey that kills artifacts, they already have that.
Okay. Can we draw a playable hand?
That looks like a no for me, dog. All right. I thought you was going to pick that deck. Go. I picked Esper, of course. Yikes.
Protect, attack.
18?
Yeah, I knew you picked Esper as soon as I saw this hand.
16.
Yep.
You have two cast downs or some shit, or something. Or what's the Conclave Tribunal? Let's go ahead and pop the Dauntless Bodyguard. Your turn. I don't want him to get any use out of Unbreakable Formation.
Attack.
14.
You can go.
Draw. So we don't have an instant to hold up on top of the Absorb, so we'll just Thought Erasure and see what's over there. Okay, take 1. Top card. Your turn. Sure you want to play that?
Mm-hmm.
I showed
you
it
just flipped it up?
to you. I showed it to you.
Okay.
I showed it to you.
Attack.
All right, I'm at 12. Sorry. Hey, this is on top of my deck. You didn't play that. Untap. Go. This is in my hand. 10.
Go.
Go. 8.
Go.
Oh, Vraska's Contempt, the Sky Marcher Aspirant. I'm up to 10.
10.
Draw. Go. Sure.
Go.
I'll Mortify the Sky Marcher Aspirant. Go to 8. Play Teferi. I will plus. Your turn. Sure. Sure.
Go.
I will Kaya's Wrath. Go. Sure.
Go.
That was Kaya's Wrath. Go. Yep.
Go.
Remember this counts. So you got 6 right now. Go.
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 You're at 11.
I'll absorb it. Yep.
Go.
Exile this. Go. That's fine.
Go.
Go. I'm gonna negate it. Draw. Go.
What are you doing?
Oh, I thought you were done.
No.
Okay, counter it.
You're at 14.
Yeah.
Go.
Draw for turn. Your go. Sure.
Go.
Go.
Attack.
12.
Landing.
Sure.
Go.
Craving this.
14.
No, Oh, you didn't choose anything, so you can't sack it, right?
Correct.
Okay, sure. I don't know
Wait.
if that's how that works or not.
Oh, yeah, I guess I can. I still can.
All right, you're at 12 still. That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Forgot about that. Good call. Attack.
11 to 21.
Yep. You're up.
Go.
Attack.
10 to 22.
Planes go.
All right, I'm just going to Thought Eraser you.
You got my 4th Tribunal.
Top card is the Kaya's Wrath. I'm going to Mortify the one on Teferi. We're going to plus for the Kaya's Wrath. And then just going to untap 2 lands. Your turn.
Perfect.
It's a burb! Oh, we're done? Okay, all right. See you later, alligator. All right, let's. Can we get the brooms out? Do we have the broom emote yet?
Is that 06 now, Ross? Or did you win?
No, he won 1 game.
I believe it's 2019, but I'm not sure.
Oh, I don't think he meant that, as in the year.
Yeah, good one.
Aha, got him. All right, well, that matchup. So let's talk about the decks and how they pair up. Let's take a second here and let's analyze what just happened and analyze the decisions we made and how they affected things. Can we do that? You mind if we do that, Ross?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure how deep it is.
I'm sorry. Do you have something to say about the best of 1 format? Or the duo standard format? Do you have anything you want to get off your chest right now?
I don't think it's anything much about the format. We're just playing 1 game.
Oh.
I don't know if you've taken into account some of the, things that are out of our control here.
Such as?
I think I've mulliganed 5 times to your 0.
Oh, yeah. No, I mulliganed once, but I mulled the 7.
Yeah, okay. My draws there with the White Weenie deck were
You can say it. You can say poop soup.
not good.
You can say poop soup. Say it. I know you want to.
I don't know what it is about this deck, but when I played it last season when it had a red splash, and I just crushed the Invitational, and I was like, wow, this deck is great.
Yeah.
Ever since I picked it up post whatever the last set was, Guilds of Ravnica Allegiance.
There it is.
I cannot win a game to save my life with this deck.
I won plenty of games.
It is unbelievable. I just can't do it. Any matchup. People tell me the Esper matchup is good for this deck. And I just can't do it. I can't win ever. So I don't know what if I'm supposed to be doing things differently, or I don't know, because every time I play against him, my opponents just like curve out perfectly and obliterate me and never make a fifth land drop. But this deck, it just turned on me.
Give me the marbles. Give them.
I want them.
Give me my marbles. All right. Well, let's actually analyze the matchups, because the matchups are going to be pretty important here as we get closer to the Mythic Invitational. Now, the first matchup we saw the Mono White versus Gruul, yes, or was it? No, it was Golgari versus Esper, right?
Yes.
Golgari versus Esper, I think in general, the control decks are very favored game one against Golgari when it's built like this. This is built like a more traditional version of the mid-range decks that feature Wild Growth Walker that are preying on some of these more aggressive strategies. And in best of one, you lack the ability to side out a bunch of those removal spells and mediocre creatures for things like Duress, Negate, Thief of Sanity, a million other sideboard cards that are just very good against control, and you lose the essence of what it means to be mid-range.
Yeah, even when these decks are built normally, like the main decks we see in best of three, game one is still pretty much in Esper's favor.
Right.
So that was no surprise to see the Esper deck handle that one pretty easily. Then the White Weenie deck in the other two games, didn't come out particularly strongly, but Esper does have tools in that matchup that are good. You have main deck Cry of Carnarium. You've got some Kaya's Wrath. You have some good cheap removal.
Yep.
So Esper could be a good choice for this weekend, even though, reactive decks tend to be decks that rely on their sideboard pretty heavily. But this is one that has very good generic answers. Mortify handles double duty, though.
Yeah, and I think cards like Thought Erasure are actually just super good because they're cheap so that they are able to be cast early in the game to be some form of interaction. They help smooth your draw out with the Surveil 1, and they're fine against aggro decks and combo or control decks alike. So
yeah, no, I could definitely see a Thought Erasure playing a really big role here, whether it's an Esper or some other shell. Definitely a good card. I wonder if the Wyatt Darby Esper midrange Hero of Precinct 1 deck could be good.
I think the trick is finding creatures that do double duty against both sides of the spectrum, right? I think something like Thief of Sanity, if left unchecked against mono red, can be dominant. Obviously it dies to shock. That's a downside to the card. That's why we don't see a lot of Thief of Sanity in people's main decks, right? But if you start off with a Hero Precinct 1, your opponent is very likely, if they have a removal spell, to target the Hero Precinct 1 before you can get the value out of the trigger. And it becomes this lightning rod that actually kind of unlocks the creatures you play over the next few turns. So the Thief of Sanity on 3 might go unchecked. And against control and aggro, that card is going to be good.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe there's something to these Dimir shells. That's something that Jim Davis spent a while trying to figure out to see if you could find a way to main deck Thief of Sanity. We've seen it in some Sultai lists. Some European player, I can't remember, played at the Mythic Championship in Cleveland and really liked main deck Thief of Sanity. Wasn't playing Wild Growth Walker or a lot of Explore creatures, and instead relying on Thief. Turn 2 and get off of Llanowar Elves is kind of difficult, but when it happens, it is great.
Yeah.
That's something we could see, but I know that the Golgari / Sultai lists, the way they are now, or similar to the way they are now, I don't think are going to fly in best of one.
I mean, I also don't think that either, and I think that there's a chance that we see very few, if any, mid-range style decks, because the lack of being able to sideboard to one of these decks means that you're kind of taking the wind out of the sails, and we might just see a full-blown aggro fest or a control fest, and in either of these scenarios, you're just going to have pillar opposites of the format battling it out, and I don't know who's going to come out on top. I have to imagine that a deck like Mono Red is just going to be pretty good, and a deck like Mono White could maybe sit on top of Mono Red if built properly. I don't want to claim to know the matchup inside and out, but from my perspective, when I'm playing Mono Red, a History of Benalia is pretty tough to deal with, and a single Goblin Chainwhirler can clean up the draws where they go triple 1-drop, but they don't contain the draws that just start getting bigger than you with Venerated Luxodon and those creatures. And like, honestly, if I'm playing mono red in the tournament, I'm hoping to play against like Esper Control and maybe like Team of Reclamation or decks that kind of dodge the normal creature spot removal. And I don't really want to be playing against a deck that just goes a little bit bigger than me. But I could be wrong.
Historically, the red deck has been good against mono white, but you do have draws that are good against what red is doing.
It was. I think that they moved away from Lava Coil. Like, there were versions that played Lava Coil, and they could take down Venerated Luxodon. They were quite good against Mono Blue for a while, and then they all shifted away from that to play Light Up the Stage, and they stopped playing Lava Coil in the main deck. And in Best of One, I think you're going to see that 100%. So 4 toughness creatures are just never going to die. And I think that any deck that has some number of 4 toughness creatures, or just, creatures that don't die to the 3 damage burn spells, are going to be pretty good.
It's a good point. But maybe we see some of the red decks move back to Lava Coil because they know they need to beat up on white decks.
But they can't afford that dead card against the Esper Control matchups. That's just the reason why they moved away from that, especially in Duo Standard / Best of One.
Yeah. Guess it seems like we're just going to have a lot of people trying to make gutsy metagame calls, and whoever gets it right is going to be way ahead, which is kind of the dynamic we saw at the last 2 Players' Championships a couple of years ago.
Sure, yeah.
Jim Davis, the second one, brought the ramp deck when everyone was playing slow control decks in that small metagame.
Yeah, Ulamog just kind of ran everybody over.
Yep, and then Joe brought the Electrostatic Pummeler deck.
And that just beat the crap out of the Aetherworks Marvel decks, the combo decks, yeah.
So we could see a similar thing here. Similar dynamic happen here, especially in a small field.
64 still, it's not small.
Yeah.
Like, the previous World Championships, we've had 24 competitors, and then in the Players Championships, we always had 16. And in those, like, you get a lot of people working together and a lot of people playing the same decks. And this, though, I think it's going to be a little more spread out. This is going to feel way more like a normal metagame, I think. But
yeah, 64 is definitely enough to see some of that variance, but still seems like we have a sort of exploitable metagame point, and now, like, what level do people want to be on? Level 1 is these aggro decks. Level 2 is going to be, well, let's play anti-aggro decks, and then there's levels as to how you want to pair 2 decks together to make sure that you can cover all the angles.
Yeah. Do you think something like this Gruul Aggro deck could be the deck to play, because it can play a bit of the aggro role, a bit of the control role, and it kind of maybe sits on top of mono red, mono white, just because its creatures are a little more robust and a little more versatile?
Well, I would have to imagine that deck is weak to mono red, as like bigger aggressive decks tend to be.
Sure.
And like your early blockers are pretty vulnerable to red's removal, besides Rekindling Phoenix, but you definitely have game against mono white with cheap removal, good blockers, and Chain Whirler. So yeah, I could definitely see that Gruul deck being good, and we're going to see it go up against mono red. Hopefully in the next match, it'll be one of the potential pairs that we see.
All right. Well, I have won the marbles, but we still got one more match for y'all today. We're going to be doing the Esper Control deck and the Gruul Aggro deck. We're going to be facing that off against the first set of decks that you played earlier, which was Jeskai Control and
Mono Red Aggro.
Yeah. All right. We're going to be right back after a short break. We're going to be fielding a bunch of questions when we come back, because we got a lot of time to fill. So if you want to ask us anything personal related, magic related, Kyle's going to be picking his favorites. If you got something funny to say too, we like jokes. I like jokes.
Who doesn't?
You most of the time.
Depends on the subject matter.
All right, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for more Versus Live.